Hey, what is up, my guys? Welcome back to the channel. If you are new, hello, it's so nice to meet you. My name is grubbz and I make Eternal Return content geared mostly towards new players. I recently was messaged on Discord by a good buddy. His name is JT and he also makes Eternal Return content. So if you are interested, I have the link to his stuff down in the description box below. We did a one-on-one session where Jester and I sat with him and we kind of talked about what to do after you finish your purple gear. And he said while that was helpful, he wished that I would elaborate a little bit more. And I realize a lot of my videos talk about just finishing your gear, right? You know how to finish your gear at this point, hopefully. If not, I have tons of videos that talk about it. Go ahead and check them out. But we're talking about now, what do you do after you finish your purple gear? Like, there is the very real possibility as a new player to kind of wander around aimlessly. So we're going to talk about some of the options of what you can do, where you should be positioning yourself, what objectives you need to be looking for, and what to do if you end up in a really sticky situation right off the bat. Let's say that maybe you die 2 or 3 times just immediately, night 1, like it's just not going well. And how can we turn around a losing game to a winning game? I personally am a little bit more of a visual learner myself, so I decided to grab some clips of my early games, of games where I got rank 1 in, and I thought a really great way for me to go over some of these concepts was to take these clips and walk you through the decision-making process of how I'm adapting to certain situations, or even how some of my teammates' playstyles are, and hopefully that would give you some guidance, or at least some ideas on how you can adapt to the early game and be as efficient as possible. So without further ado, let's just get into it. Let's talk about what to do after you finish your purple gear. There is probably not a worse feeling in Eternal Return than having a really crappy early game. Yes, it's nice because if you go out early, you're done and you can move on to the next one. But there's always that part of me personally that is out of spite. I want to come back and win the game because that person dumpstered me or they followed me around and tried to ensure that I had a bad time. In fact, I would even dare to say that for me, I would rather have a good early game and die in the mid game versus the early game going to shit and like you didn't even get to play at all. And I remember as like a very new player not understanding what I was supposed to be doing, so I would find myself wandering all game, and then I would realize that I have ratted all game and I have done nothing to really make my team a force on the map, so we just end up having to run from every single situation, which also feels equally as bad. And it was only through a lot of trial and error and losing a lot of games very quickly where I was able to kind of figure out what worked for me in terms of adapting to the early game. And I've kind of narrowed it down to 3 things that I think you should focus on when it comes to the early game specifically. So number 1 is going to be kind of the frustration that I've heard a lot of veteran players have, including myself to a certain extent. And I don't think that newer players understand why this is so frustrating. And I wish to impart this knowledge upon you so you can understand, number 1, why it's a detriment to the team, and number 2, how you are making the game impossible to play. And that is that you need to group up after your purple gear is done, and you need to start listening to communication. Recently, there have been a lot of complaints on the Eternal Return Reddit, especially from veteran players talking about all these new players coming in, and they do not listen to pings, and they basically wander off for the entire game. And it's fine if you're a new player and you don't know where you're going and you're in like the wrong spot, that's fine. But then when they try to help out these newer players, the newer players will just ignore everything, and I don't think as a new player you understand how hard and impossible you are making the game, and in a sense you are wasting everybody's time. And to be fair, toxicity does exist, right? Like, and if you've experienced that through Eternal Return, I'm really sorry. And us veteran players need to remember that new players are joining all the time. It's a good thing for the game, we want that to happen, and we should really try to help them out to the best of our ability and not flame them if we can help it. But at the same time, I have gone through personal situations where I have tried giving trees and meteorites to my 3rd teammate that is just not picking it up, and I'm pinging it and I'm saying, please take it, you don't have a single gold on you, and you need to do something, like you need to be participating. I don't care if you're standing there auto attacking, I need you to be here, because unless you are really far ahead, it is almost impossible to win a 2v3 right off the gate. In the early game, it's very hard to get the upper hand without having a whole bunch of golds or a whole bunch of mastery levels. Like, it's just not going to happen. You're on a more even playing field. So when that is the case and it is a 2v3, it is very, very hard to pull that back out, and you need to be playing with people that are experienced on their characters and also very experienced at the game. So one of the biggest ways that you can up your early game if you are somebody that is brand new is group up with your team as soon as your purple build is done. Now, if you finish your build and there's a campfire right next to you and you want to go ahead and make your food, that totally makes sense. If you have to travel a zone or two just to get to a campfire and there's a jump terminal in between, you should probably just take the jump to one of your teammates if they're close to a campfire, because chances are they haven't cooked yet either, or they will follow you to the campfire if you ping it and say that you need to go make some food. But making food, while it is a great next step, if your teammate gets into a fight and you are near a jump terminal and you just finished your build, a really good thing to do is to go help out your teammate. If you want to think of it in terms of ranked, the best way for you to get points and the best way for you to level up your character's mastery levels is for you to fight other people. So even if you guys get a kill on that person, that is wonderful. That is a great way to boost your character very early. You want to get as many kills as possible without throwing away the game. So that is also another thing to consider. So moving on to number 2, which is going to be farming and combat. And the reason why you focus on them is pretty much for the same thing, only one is better than the other one. You want to focus on farming and you want to focus on fighting people for money, right? Like number 1, you get credits from it, and that's really cool. Money's always good. It allows you to buy things. Cool. But the real reason why you want to do it is to raise your mastery level, or your weapon mastery, as some people call it. And the reason why you want to do that is because your weapon mastery or your mastery level is really, really, really important. A lot of people, I think, don't understand as new players how important that mastery level is. In fact, there are times where somebody will have 1 gold and they will kick my butt because their mastery level is higher and they are just a better player than me. So like sometimes your mastery level can outweigh the benefits of what gold pieces can give you. So keeping an eye on that mastery level is really, really important. And you have to think your mastery level is free, right? Like you just get that passively by doing things around the map, whether that be combat, moving through areas, killing mobs, that kind of stuff. That's really important to keep in mind versus I have to spend 200 credits and spend time farming, and I have to try to find it on the map and hope that nobody's like contesting it if I'm really far behind. I will honestly say the balance between farming and fighting is one of the hardest concepts I think for new players to grasp, just because if you fight too much, you're gonna constantly be behind in other ways because you're not stopping to go and grab materials from the kiosk usually. I have found myself doing that where I'm too aggressive in the beginning and then I don't buy anything, and then I lose to a team that I've beaten 3 times because they stopped and they went and bought and I didn't. Also, being really kill oriented can make you miss out on really easy objectives, like if there's a tree up in temple that's not being contested, but you chose to chase somebody through pond, well guess what? Somebody else is gonna go and grab that tree. I can't tell you how many times I've killed Wick and somebody has come behind me and taken the blood out from under my nose because I was too busy trying to chase the other team off to pay attention and nobody picked up blood, so the other team just got to go grab it, and that feels really bad, guys. So this is kind of my rules for, you know, doing the early game and balancing it between farming and combat. I usually like to farm until the objectives pop up, like your first tree and your meteorite on day 1. All right, that's pretty much what I do. If combat happens, it happens. If I miss out on tree, that's fine, because between the farming and the combat, I should have gotten enough money if I got the kills, right? You have to get the kills. If I get enough money then to buy a gold, then I'm in a good spot. If not, guess what? I'm gonna be farming for a little bit because I have to catch up on my golds. Sometimes the smartest thing to do is to farm until those objectives pop and then you fight the people at the objectives. Sometimes if your team comp feels really bad, you just wait for everybody's visibility to show up and then you just hop to where nobody's at and you can grab an objective for free. It all comes down to preference and playstyle. If you are somebody more aggressive, then this probably all sounds really ucky to you, and that makes sense. Sometimes if I feel very confident, as soon as my build is done, I'm gonna scout around and look for somebody to kill them pretty early and then group up with my team. And that's an option. You can do that. I just hesitate to suggest that for newer players because I don't want you to feel discouraged because you lose early fights not knowing all of the characters' power spikes and who is worth diving on and who is not. So for my third rule, it's very, very easy. I want to have at least 2 golds on my team before battle zones, and that's just the truth. I want to have at least 1 person that has bought something, or 1 person that has grabbed something from an objective, or we farmed enough or killed enough people that we could purchase it. At this point of the game, you want to be as strong as you can. Like, it's just so important for you to get ahead of the game if you can start your snowballing, that kind of stuff. Especially if you're playing a carry, you are trying to get as many golds as you can. We are trying to pop you off early. You are going to be snowballing our team to victory. We want that. As a tank, I usually try to get my chest piece at the very minimum, sometimes my arm piece depending on who I am playing and what build I am going for, but usually your chest piece is a pretty safe bet as a tank. And to my support players, I'm really sorry. We are second-class citizens in this game, and that's okay. We help out in other ways, right? But usually I will buy 1 thing for my supports, and then I will not buy anything else for them for the rest of the game. And that's usually like my elf dress if I'm playing like a healing support, or if I'm playing somebody like Sylvia, obviously I buy a little bit more for her just because she is a little bit more complex than just like a healing support like Charlotte or Johan. But usually it's either my boots, my arm, or my chest when it comes to supports, and I just sit on that for as long as possible until I really need to buy something else. So those are my 3 tips to kind of keep in mind for the early game. If you skipped all that and you're here for the clips, hello. These are going to be the clips for you guys. And please let me know if you like this type of thing, because if you do, I'll incorporate them way more often in my videos, okay? All right, here we go. So this game, I am playing Mii. I am in a duo this game. I'm not in a squad, like a full squad, because Jester's not playing. I think he took a nap that night. But Tim Drake and I are hanging out. Tim Drake is the 3rd person that Jester and I usually rank with, so it was really nice to be able to get some games in kind of solo with Tim so that we could work on our synergy. Right now, we are grouping up pretty early with Tim because I know personally from playing with him that he's very objective focused and he can be very aggressive early game. So he tries to take as many opportunities as he can to get ahead. So he's constantly looking for fights. He's constantly looking for tree. He is just a very forward focused kind of guy and he's very, very aggressive. So right now we're going to go up to Temple and we're going to kind of get a feel out for it. I'm going to get the CCTVs whenever I can for those 5 credits, anything to kind of get a little bit of a bump. And we're just going to be clearing this out as much as we can. We've got Luke further in Temple. He's going to clear out the other side. And we are going to move from here to Police Station, I believe. And like I said, the only thing we're really trying to do here is get that mastery level up and get that farming going for us. Get a little bit of money in our pocket by killing all these things and getting ready and scouting for a fight. So we see the indications of people down in Fire Station from the exclamation points on the map. So we're kind of moving our way there and making sure we kill everything in the process. Want to make sure we get those CCTVs so that we don't get jumped from behind. And this fight was sloppy. I did not do anything right in this fight, it feels like. I was trying to zone out the Katya, which was the wrong call. I should have been supporting the Luke the entire time, and ultimately that's why we lost the fight. Tim Drake was doing fine on his own in terms of zoning her out, and I just made the wrong call and we lost the fight. And that's okay. That happens sometimes. So now we have to play the waiting game. So that's always a bummer when that happens, but we're not down and out. Now it's going to be day 2, and as you notice, we're not really back in Temple where we originally started, but we are close to Meteorite. So we're going to be moving out that way, but we don't understand and we don't know that there's 2 teams there. So we get to at least run it back against this team. I didn't grab the Luke again, which was a detriment to the team, so instead I'm going to leave because that fight was bad. Again, that was my fault why we lost that second fight as well. But I'm not too proud to show you guys like my shortcomings. I'm still learning just like everybody else is. Not every game is perfect. At this point, we're a little bit behind. I don't know how many golds my teammates have at this point. It's probably not really any at all. It looks like Tim just got a tree there, which is good. So that's something that we can at least look forward to. And I am going to be trying to group up with Tim again. And we are now in Hotel. But at this point, because we've already lost 2 fights, the best thing for me to do at this point is just to farm. So we are definitely just trying to farm and get anything we can at this point to prep for, you know, a battle zone or for, you know, hopefully another fight. If we lose this next fight, though, we probably will have to rat for most of the game and kind of hope that we get good drops because we've just lost so much in the beginning. So we see that another team is buying right now. I like to be really aggressive when people are buying. It makes me kind of a jerk, I know, but we are going to be very aggressive here because we have got to get something going off. Of course, they have a Johann, which is very annoying. It makes it really hard to get in when we're chasing like this. But we were very lucky that Estelle was kind of hanging back a little bit. So we're going to fight this. And we get the Estelle down, which is great. We've already kind of got a nice advantage in the battle zone. I decided to target the Estelle, which was the wrong call. I should have been helping him out. Instead, I finally get the grab off on loot. And now it becomes this horrendously long fight with Johann because it's Johann, and that's what he does. I realized that probably the smartest thing for me to do at this point is to, help out and try to get Tim. As you saw, my meter at the top was getting a little heavy for our team, so I wanted to kind of get that down and sit in the thing for a second. I'm going to try to get Tim up, that way we can kill this Johann much faster, because it was painfully slow. But there's still another team in the battle zone, and because there were only 2 of them, their Katya, as you can see on like the minimap, is stuck on the outside, and I think that's the only reason why we were able to get back ahead in this game. They are here, there's only 2 of them. This should be a pretty quick fight, just because we outnumber them. Though they put up a very, very valiant effort. That haze was very, very scary. And with us winning that battle zone, we are effectively back in the game. That was huge, because Luke got a 4 score off of that, and that is always a good jump. So this game I'm playing Sissela. It took me a little while to get my build underway, so I'm going to get bullied for it, unfortunately, by this Eva. Luckily, my other teammate is here. I believe we were playing with Desto this time. Yes, hello Desto. He is a member of the Discord, somebody that I met before the Discord, but he ended up joining my Discord on a whim, which was really cool. He is also very aggressive, but he likes to go after people, not really stuff so much. So I knew he was going to try to eat that Kathy as soon as she showed up. So we are going to be aggressive, and I know with Desto that he's more of an aggressive player, so like I need to be able to keep up with him in this regard. Luckily, even though I'm kind of new with Sissela, I did play a lot of Oriana in League of Legends, so a lot of that kind of translates over. I think the hardest part with Sissela right now is knowing to kind of use my E properly. The timing of it can be a little silly. I feel like I do it too fast and then it's just useless. But we are able to secure the kill on Kathy, which is huge. It's always nice to see a good lead like that, and now we are going to keep farming. Here is Jester joining in. He is on Jan this game. And he is going to be effectively our front line. There's another team hanging out here at dock, and that is simply unacceptable. I want those bears. They are not allowed to have it, but we need to watch out because warehouse is where that Kathy team is, and I see that they're behind us. But I also see that our team is engaging in a fight for these bears. We want to try to get zone dominance here. Just because there's a lot that you can farm, and money is always good. So I remember I told Desto, I said, jump, 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 jump. And I backed off because I saw that Jester was losing the fight against Hart. And I wanted to do my best to try to clean it up and help where I could. And then I thought, oh, well, I'm going to ult here. Cleans up the Katya on the ground, cleans up the Heart that was coming after us, and now my goal is to try to keep the Leon off, but I know that Desto is really good at kiting. So I'm going to take this opportunity to get Jester back up. If Jesto goes down, which I believe he did, that's okay, because I got Jester back up. And with Jester back up, he can be a little bit of a meat shield for me while I fight this Leon, which sounds really bad, but I know that Desto will be back up soon, which he is, and I can't believe this guy got my read. I hate him so much. Why couldn't he have just been basic? And he got a really good ult off. I was able to get away, thankfully, and God bless my teammates that were there to follow me up. Otherwise, I was dead. So that was like a huge early game, right? I'm sitting at 14 kills, 2 kills for myself, 1 assist for myself. We are in a very, very good position. It's not often that you get to snowball like that. That was kind of the perfect storm for us. And I'm very thankful that Sissela does a lot of damage, because if I was on a support, I don't know if our team could have been able to out-damage a lot of what was being thrown at us. So we see that a meteorite is over at warehouse, and we're going to try to head over to it, but that lead island has already grabbed it, and I guessed wrong as to where she was going to build. I thought maybe she would circle back around to dock because, you know, maybe she would think that we were trying to move forward. And it was too big brain for me, man. I tried to be too big brain about it, and I shouldn't have been. So she grouped up with her team over there. We're going to end up running into them here in a second. But like I said, we're just farming the entire time. And our main thing is that because we've got this great lead on us, we want to keep it going. So we are now in prime position to keep fighting over and over again. And this lead island was so obnoxious, dude. She was so good at giving us the runaround. Poor Nina got pushed back. I managed to like snag her there, but she just flashes over the wall, which is so irritating. And I didn't need to ult here, but I did anyways, just because she had already been so flighty. I didn't want her to get away. At that point, it was personal. I needed to do something about it. But as you can see, like, last game it was a lot more farming. This game it's a lot more aggressive. We want to keep trying to grab what we can and do what we can to keep this snowball going. So we see that Alpha's coming up. We're going to head over to that because those type of objectives usually, at least this season's, in my opinion, have been... There's just been a lot of teams showing up to these objectives, which is great. I'm going to buy something here. I'm going to try to buy... But the Sylvia was rude, so I told them, I'm going to build, you can't stop me, don't fight them. And so that's kind of what we're doing. Desto was able to get his off as well, and now we are in a very ugly fight. Jester went down very quickly, but luckily we're able to get some good poke damage off on them between Desto and I. That lead Eileen, she wanted it, but I managed to pull her back, and now it is Sylvia, and Sylvia is not something to be trifled with. I'm gonna ult here just to ensure, like I said, it's just insurance. In case she had somehow dodged my ball, I was going to make sure that she was dead either way. And Desto is now back up, and Jester's back up, and we effectively just got Alpha for free, and we have successfully snowballed ourselves to victory, essentially. At this point, if somebody else was to come for Alpha, we wouldn't even care. Like, at that point, we have 8 kills on the board pretty early on. That's pretty good. And so this Alpha goes down, like, immediately. Not a problem. Give it to Jester, because he's been doing a good job being our meat shield and CCing him. And to be honest, with how fast he's starting to explode, we kind of need to get some tankiness on him. And for the rest of the game, that's pretty much it. Like, we just snowballed from then on out. It was such a good lead, there was nothing to stop us. So the reason why I put that clip in there, because it's like, well, obviously, if you're ahead, just keep going ahead. No, what you need to do is you need to know how to keep that snowball going, how to look for the right objectives. And that is it, my guys. That is all I have for you as my tips and kind of my rules for trying to play the game after you finish your purple build. Hopefully that was helpful for you. Hopefully, like, the clips and me doing a somewhat awkward voiceover was helpful. If you guys like that kind of stuff, again, let me know and I can incorporate more of that into my videos from now on, or I can even make full videos where I take a game and I talk about my thought process, and I don't know if that's helpful, but if you would like that, then I will do that, no problem. If you are a new player or even a veteran player and you are looking for people to play with, I highly recommend you check out the Discord, especially if you are lost on anything and you need some one-on-one help. There are so many wonderful people there. I am so thankful for the community that has grown there. Everybody there wants to help. Everybody there is very encouraging and they're understanding, and we have a lot of fun. We just had our first in-house gaming session where we all played Cobalt Protocol together, and it was a blast. It was like 3 or 4 hours of us just playing, and it was super fun. So if that sounds interesting to you, please consider checking out the link in the description. We would be so happy to have you if you choose to join. If you like the video, please consider giving it a thumbs up. If you need any help with anything, or you have any questions, or you want me to elaborate, please drop it in the comments below. I do read them. I do love to give out help as much as I can. And if you really liked it, maybe even consider pressing that subscribe button. You can press that bell notification to know when my videos are live. I do post every week. And yeah, that's it. Bye!